All right, another quadratic formula question. We want to find the solutions or the zeros or the x-intercepts using the quadratic formula. In this one, you can factor, but let's go ahead and do the factoring first, and then we'll do the quadratic formula. So here I have x squared equals 4x. Remember, in order for you to use the quadratic formula or to factor, it has to equal 0. So we need to do minus 4x. Minus 4x. This cancels. So you have x squared minus 4x equals 0. Here, to factor, you have a greatest common factor. What do they both have in common? They have an x. So we're going to factor out the x. And then what's left over? X times what gives you x squared? X. X times what gives you negative 4x? Negative 4. And then we split them up. X equals 0. X minus 4 equals 0. This one's already solved. We solve this one. Plus 4 plus 4. X equals 4. X equals 0. X equals 4. Those would be my two answers. Now we're going to use the quadratic formula from right here. Let's say you forget how to factor. You can always use the quadratic formula. But remember, it needs to be equal to 0, which is what we already did right there. Okay, so now we're going to do the quadratic formula. My a is the number in front of the x squared, which is a 1. My b is the number in front of the x, which is negative 4. Now my c, I don't have a c. I don't have a number after the x. So your c is 0. Now we're going to use the quadratic formula. We're going to plug it in. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we're going to plug it in. So we have negative b. B is negative 4. So you need to put that negative 4. Some kids forget. Don't forget. That negative is from the formula. Then you have another negative to plug in there. Square root b squared parentheses, guys. You need to put the parentheses. Remember in the previous video I showed you what happens if you don't. So negative 4 squared, the 2 goes on the outside, minus 4. A is 1. Your C is 0. All over 2a is 1. Let's go ahead and simplify it a bit. What happens when you have two negatives here? They become a positive. So you have a positive 4 plus or minus the square root. We're going to figure out the square root in a bit. All over 2 times 1, 2. So let's go ahead and find the discriminant. The discriminant is the stuff inside the square root. So we're going to plug in the discriminant. Remember to plug in the parentheses, and the little square goes on the outside. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to press enter, and I ended up with 16. Since the number, the discriminant, is bigger than 0, you have two solutions. Now let's get the square root of 16. So the square root of 16 is 4. So I have 4 plus or minus 4, because that's what the square root of 16 is, divided by 2. And now we're going to split them up. So one of them is 4 plus 4 divided by 2. The other one is 4 minus 4 divided by 2. So 4 plus 4 is 8. And then we divide it by 2, which gives us 4. Here, 4 minus 4 is 0. Divided by 2, it gives us 0. And those are my two zeros, 4 and 0, which is what we found when we factored. So whether you factor or use the quadratic formula, you should end up with the same answer. Those are my zeros, my solutions, my roots, my x-intercepts. So what does that mean again? It means that that's where the parabola crosses. It's going to cross at 0 and it's going to cross at 4. And And this is a positive x squared, so it should be opening up somewhere like this.